I call him the miracle bird. The first captive-bred Sisserou parrot, now almost 2 years old, was the result of a truly miraculous marriage. Two non-releasable birds, fledglings that were found, were nursed back to health. They took 10 years to consummate their marriage, and they successfully laid a fertile egg, and they hatched a chick, the first ever in the history of our species caring for these birds. This is miraculous because when you think about the odds of two birds, the only two known in captivity on Earth, getting along, much less being of opposite sex, and then consummating their marriage with a fertile egg after 10 years together. I mean, these are long odds. As many people know, the chick was hatched, it was fed for a short time by the parents, they then abandoned it, which is not unusual for birds in captivity and certainly not unusual for first-time parents. And the chick nearly died. He stayed in the nest a very long time and nearly died. I came in to help with this bird, worked with him around the clock for 6 days, stabilized him. Very, very serious health issues which could not be addressed here on Dominica. And through an incredible international cooperation from the Ministry of Agriculture, CITES, the Forestry and Veterinary Departments, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, U.S. Department of Agriculture, this animal was evacuated, rescued, and successfully raised. The significant thing about this, and it is all published, it's all been published, it's out in the public domain for everyone to read and see, it's a remarkable scientific study. This single animal taught us more about the natural history of the Sisserou than we had ever known before. No juvenile had ever been photographed, much less the chronology of growth from hatching to fledging. Just a wonderful story. And a miracle because it was so unlikely to happen. We never imagined it would happen, and we may never witness it again. The bird has health issues. He had many, many serious health issues early in life because of his near-death experience in the nest. He went for nearly a week without being fed or hydrated. I tell people he looked very much like a raisin when I came to Dominica. It's another miracle on top of the first miracle that he survived, much less that he successfully grew up. He's a pretty bird. He has some health concerns. We've had a number of health scares with him. He requires special care. He's what I would call a special needs parrot. The significant part of this is that he represents a fortuitous event. This wasn't something that was designed. There is no captive breeding program for Sisserous. It was never intended that birds in cages would be a goal. And the reason for that is we know the life history of the species. It reproduces very slowly. It matures very slowly. A captive breeding program makes no sense for recovery because the reproductive rate is so low. The wild population has recovered on its own. And that's the beauty of the whole parrot story here on Dominica. This bird represents that very, very rare, once-in-a-lifetime glimpse at something that you didn't expect to see. And that was a chick in captivity, which you were lucky enough to chronicle. He himself is not part of the conservation picture. He can't be released to the wild. He's completely imprinted. He was hand-fed from beginning to end. He has health issues. But what he represents is information. We understand more now about this species because this happened. And the end result of this is that we know there will be unreleasable birds from time to time, and hopefully, someday, somehow, he will have a mate and he will have a companion. Right now, his fate is up to what happens here, what happens in terms of the appropriate next steps for captive birds. I hope we don't have any more Sisserous in captivity. I really think that's not necessary, but I know that it will happen. There will be rescue birds from time to time, and that's how we're going to look at this. This is a unique case that provides an insight into the natural history of the species, and we are primarily concerned about the welfare of that animal because it is such a unique case. He's a special bird. He's a miracle bird. We treat him as a miracle bird. He has the most wonderful life of any parrot, I dare say, on Earth. So he's a lucky guy.